Perfect. Yeah, we're just waiting for it to start.
So I guess we were talking here and
Yes, we're good.
we were not even.
Yeah, I guess we were
Okay,
waiting.
let's
for
start
it.
over.
Nice. Take two. All right, so we are live. So hey, Jamie and Daniel here
Hey, guys.
we're at Integral Wellness, a new location here on Mountain Road. So it's 1201 Suite 202 on Mountain Road.
202 or
202 or 203?
203?
Yeah, both of them. 203 is like the lobby. Yeah. So what we wanted to talk today about is sizes, kind of portions, and some hyperpalatable foods, and we'll explain what those are going forward. But we wanted to start with size matters. So we wanted to kind of start with portions and how that has changed over the years, which it has changed quite a bit. I don't know if anyone has noticed, like if you go to a restaurant or the movies, that the small popcorn is now a medium, the medium popcorn is now large, and the large popcorn is basically, a huge bucket.
Yeah, in the pop, I think the drinks are a good example of that.
Yes.
Most obvious,
Yeah.
either the cups or the bottles that you buy at grocery store. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
From a liter to, I don't know what, 3 liters.
Yeah, I think it's like 3 liters now.
Yeah.
And the one at the movie theater is massive. Like, I don't know how you can sit through a whole movie and drink it all. And even in restaurants too, right? Like if you're going to any restaurant, the plates are getting bigger and bigger, and it actually has gotten bigger and bigger over the years as well. So again, what you're served is basically double or triple what your actual serving should be in that actual plate size as well. So a lot of people don't really know the portions sizes, right? Of course, you can measure things, you can weigh things, but if you want to really know it, we're going to talk a bit about how to, some portions and stuff about using your hands, because you always have those with you.
It's important, I think, to change that mindset. What is valuable? What's the value when you go to a restaurant and order a meal?
Yeah.
So if it's bigger, does it have more value? Well, not really, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean.
Yeah, exactly. You got to look at like the nutrients and stuff. It's not like, oh, this is really cheap, but you get a lot, right? That should actually scare you, because like a really cheap meal and you have a lot of food there.
Quality.
I can tell you that is not a high quality food, right? So high quality food, meaning that it has a lot of nutrients in it. You don't get that at a cheap price, and you get a lot to it, right? That's a lot of usually deep fried foods or foods that are really highly palatable. Going into that, so those are like ones that are really full of sugar, fats, oils, just things that your body doesn't really need that excess of. So what we're going to talk to you about, like the plate sizes have changed over the years as well. So in the 1950s, a plate size was actually like 9 inches. So not, it's probably 9 inches there. And then by now, they're about 12 inches, so they've gone up quite a bit, right?
So 9 inches, so for that measure of using hands to check, that would be about, works for me.
Yep.
I guess.
Mine's a little bit bigger, but again, always your hands are usually portioned to your body as well, so that's why using your hands for portioning and stuff is really good. We'll go over that in a second, but with like the 1960s, say like the 1960s, again, plate size was about 9 inches. So like on the plate size, average would be about 800 calories on that plate. And it actually follows the obesity percentage as well in America, all of America, so North and Central. So in 1962, basically the population was at 13% of the population was obese, and then it keeps going up and up with the plate sizes. So like it was 9, and it was 10, 1980s, 2000s, it was 11 inches big, so about 1,600 calories, and then now again it's 12 inches. It averages about 2,000 calories per plate, which is
Per plate.
Yeah, that's huge.
2 of those, 4,000 calories in 2 meals. Yeah, way too much.
Way too much.
Plus,
so that one plate almost has all of your calorie intake for the day, if you think of it that way, right? And then that's the reason, like, now we're sitting around like 36% obesity rate in America, right? So it goes up with the plate sizes with a lot of other things too, right? Fast foods, Again, if you're getting a lot for cheap, it doesn't really make sense.
If you have that mindset of having more, you're probably adding a lot of those hyperpalatable foods also in your plate, which means you have 2,000 calories, probably no nutrients.
Yeah, so hyperpalatable foods, you heard us say that a couple times now. So what that is it's food that is really high in certain things. You get you almost addicted to it, right? So it doesn't really have much fiber in it. So if you want to take like fast food restaurants, McDonald's for example, it has a lot of fat, a lot of sugar, or a lot of salt kind of together. So your brain kind of goes crazy for those things. Like popcorn at the movie theater popcorn, chips, candy, things like that, right? Like if you take a kid, you say, here's an apple, a Granny Smith candy or a Granny Smith apple, they're always going to go for the candy, right? Because their brain is addicted to that high sugar intake, right? So that's kind of what hyperpalatable food is.
And it's basically sugar and fat.
Yeah, sugar, fat, salt.
Okay, and of course all the flavors that are added.
Yeah.
They're not natural.
No, exactly. Yeah, I call candy basically artificial fruit because it's always flavored off of the fruit, and but it's basically just sugar.
The difference we have that what's the ratio that makes it perfectly hyperpalatable? Hyperpalatable.
Yeah. So you have 45, and then 5%. So 45% fat, 45% sugar usually. And then in some cases too, you have some salt in there as well. Okay. Which again, the fast food restaurants know.
Basically half and half with a lot of salt. And, well, we can make that we can take real food, whole foods, and also make that same proportion, right? And I guess the difference is you're gonna have a lot of fiber.
Yeah.
If you it's not as addictive. It's more.
Like apple with peanut butter, right? That's the same type of thing, but you're gonna get a lot more nutrients from that. Than having like a Reese cup. That's a good example, right? Like those peanut butter filled Reese's Pieces. So that would almost be, again, that does not have any fiber in it. It's just basically sugar and fat because you're getting a lot of fat too from the peanut butter too. So yeah, having those things that have the nutrients in them, right? Like again, for salt wise, you can have avocado toast, so that's your fat, your sugar from the toast as well. But you're getting a lot of fiber, and you're getting a lot of good fats and a lot of vitamins from.
When you gave those examples of peanuts, avocado, and you also have all the protein that to make that meal more balanced.
Yeah.
Right? That usually.
And you'll feel fuller for longer too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So we have size.
Yes. So we want to. Yeah, solving the portion size issue, right? So a lot of people, like we were talking at the beginning, a lot of people go into restaurants or even at home, they're like, okay, well, what is too much? Or how do I know how much of vegetables to have? How much do I know of oils, cheeses, right? So those type of things that are really high, even potatoes. A lot of potatoes usually get a bad rap. A lot of people stop eating potatoes because they're like, oh, it has too much starch in it. So that would be considered like a lot high calorie density for potatoes, right? So it's just easy to overeat potatoes. Plus, when you're eating potatoes, there's a lot of time you're adding in a lot of oils, like chips, right? You're adding in a lot of oil. If you have mashed potatoes, you're adding some butter and some cream most of the time. So depending on what you're adding, like if you have a baked potato without a lot of cream cheese and stuff on it, it's really good. Like it has a lot of fiber. It has, it's going to make you feel fuller for longer. You don't need to put all of that fat kind of in there. It's just easy to overeat a potato, right? Because it has a lot of energy per gram. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. So there's a lot of foods out there that have a lot more calories per gram than others, right? So fruits and vegetables, that's why you want to eat a lot more fruits and vegetables because they have less and they have a lot of good fibers, and that's where you're getting your vitamins and all your nutrients of the day is from that as well. So yeah, back to the portion sizes. So your fist, so that's here would be like your carbs, like your complex carbs or even fruits. So like an apple, that's the size of an apple. If you take a banana, you would cut it up to that size. Again, it's going to be about that size. Unless you get one of those really big bananas that we seem to have here at Superstore. And yeah, so any fruits and stuff, right? Like a clementine, if you have a small one, right, you could almost have 2 of them, right? So you can kind of measure it based on your fist, because that's, again, proportion to your body as well. So vegetables too, vegetables would be like 2 handfuls, right? So like if you had broccoli, it would be a whole plate of broccoli. Would be equivalent to, again, like if you had just your fingertip, right, just that last index there. So your fingertip of oil would be the same calorie intake as a whole handful of broccoli, right? If you think of it that way, it's crazy. Your thumb would be like cheeses. I know everyone usually just triples up or quadruples up their thumb. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to use your thumb and your thumb and your thumb. It doesn't really work that way. So you just want to really make sure about those 2 are the most important, right? Because those are oils, and oils have like more than twice the amount of calories of anything else. Any of the other ones we're talking about. Any nuts or anything, just a cup in your hand, right? So just like a cup right here. So just kind of picking up like that. That should be a good one. Walnuts, you're probably only going to get like maybe 4 in that cupped hand. So again, nuts too are really easy to overeat because they're fat. And then your proteins is the palm of your hand, like without your fingers. So again, that could be tofu, that could be meats, that could be chicken, that could be fish. We recommend like chicken and fish if you're having meat. That's even eggs too, right? Because eggs, you can even have 2 in your palm as well. So 2 eggs is usually a good portion, right? So whatever kind of fits in there, it's a really good way of kind of judging your portions is using your hands.
Going over everything. Let me let's go over that quickly again. So 1 fist of carbs.
Yes.
Okay. So 2 handful of vegetables.
Yep.
Okay. Palm of your hand for protein. Should be a small steak, 2 eggs.
Yeah, it could be lentils, could be beans.
For nuts, very high density, like just cup inside your hand. And we have 1 thumb for
Cheeses.
cheese. Okay,
Yeah, cheeses or anything that kind of around cheeses. And then things that are like pure fat, like even thumb 2 would be avocado. But anything that's like pure fat, like oils, butter, things like that. Again, that's the fingertip. So just the last index on your index finger.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those that's the average good size portion.
Yep.
For a meal, of course, if you choose the real foods, whole foods. So 1 fist of like carbs that could be potato or fruit.
Yep.
If
Rice,
you
rice,
think of sugar, no, it doesn't apply here. Right? So that for whole foods.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so that's what you want to eat too, right? You want to eat everything whole foods, and if you're adding anything to, like anything to sweeten stuff up, I would go by like fingertip or anything that's like pure energy, right? So that's like honey, right? Honey is like pure energy. If you're talking about peanut butter, that's very almost pure energy because it's a lot of fat. Oils, right? If you think of it, if it just has the one thing in it, like even protein, carbs, or fats, if it's just fat, if it's just carbs, then you want to use that index finger or that thumb. So that's that's the best way to look at it. Because again, if you're even having the dried fruits, right? That's a lot. That's almost just sugars as well. You do have some vitamins in there as well, but you want to use that thumb, right? So it's not like a cupped hand or anything for that.
All right. So let's think about the size of the portions.
Yes.
And what's in it. Hyperpalatable.
Yeah.
Which is not whole foods.
Yeah. So try to stop adding like hyperpalatable foods to or things to what you're making. So meaning that if you're eating oils, right, whether that be avocado oil, I would recommend olive oil, just because again it's the cleanest oil out there. So or avocado. So that itself is still fat, right? It's still oil. If you are using oil, use it like very little bit at a time, right? So if you have those spray The olive oil spray works really well too, because it doesn't, instead of pouring it on or pouring it, it's very easy to over pour. With the spray, it's easy to stop and go at the same time. And then you can get those sprays that are just olive oil and doesn't have any other preservatives or stuff in it. So that's what I would recommend. But just watch the intake of like sugars and things like that. So even like even juices too, like anything that's processed. Yeah. So like a cup of orange juice or apple juice, for example, like you wouldn't sit down and eat 5 apples at a time, but with a glass of apple juice, right, it could have about 3 to 5 apples of sugar in it, right? But you would never sit down and eat 3 apples at a time. But it's easy to drink that and more of apple juice because it's so sweet, but it doesn't have that fiber to tell your body that you're full, right? So that's what you really want to look for. You want to eat things the most natural it is, because it has that fiber, and your stomach will tell your brain that you're full at that time. So it's super, super important, because hyperpalatable food is really easy to overeat. Yeah, the brain does not tell, your stomach doesn't tell your brain when it's full. You just keep eating and eating and eating, and you get to a point where you're like, wow, I'm really, really full. So fiber is good. Yes.
Okay. That's the message.
So that's what we want to talk about today. But yeah, welcome to Integral Wellness. And
yes,
we're
if you've never been here,
yeah, if you've never been here, come on down.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's 1201 Mountain Road, Unit 203.
And we're really happy and proud.
Yes.
How we are small but independent and free.
Woohoo! All right, so yeah, if you guys have any questions, just post your comments, questions, and we will get right back at you. But yeah, that's what we wanted to talk about today. And you guys, see you next week. Have a great Easter weekend as well. Woohoo!